Bond. James Bond.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Did we just become best friends?
Yup! Sublime!
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Tear me apart, Lisa!
But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of You Haven't Seen That, a movie discussion podcast where we introduce our friend Ben to movies he should have seen a long time ago. I'm your host, Amanda.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Ben.
And today we're discussing 50 First Dates. And stick around until the end because we'll be talking about our top 4 favorite rom-coms.
50 First Dates, released February 2004, directed by Peter Siegel, who also directed one of Ben's favorite movies, one of his more underrated ones, Get Smart. This is the second of 3 Adam Sandler collaborations between the two of them. This stars Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore, Rob Schneider, and Sean Astin. This movie had a $75 million budget and grossed nearly $200 million at the box office. This movie was not a huge critical success, with a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes. That said, it is an award-winning movie. It won the MTV Movie Award for Best On-Screen Team between Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore.
Wow.
Prestigious.
Right?
And this is not their first movie together.
It is not. It's not their last either.
Yeah, they are certainly the dynamic duo. All right, Geoff, why don't you give us your history with 50 First Dates?
So I don't really have a strong history with this movie. It's one of those ones that, in that sort of prime Adam Sandler period of the late 90s through the 2000s, it just kind of got blended in with everything else for me. I never saw it in theaters, but definitely caught it at home, whether it be on DVD or on cable, on repeat. Have revisited a couple of times over the last decade or so, but don't have a strong place for it in my heart. So it was fun to revisit it again and kind of get a new look on it, a new perspective on it, having not had a strong clutch to it.
Yeah, for sure. And what about you, Ben?
So this, well, 2 things before I share my history. One, this is the second year in a row we have followed up our bashing a musical movie with an Adam Sandler movie.
Wow.
We did Happy Gilmore
Holy
after Cats
cow.
last year, and now we're doing 50 First Dates after Dear Evan Hansen.
New
and
tradition.
also our second Hawaii movie of the year, of the season.
Yeah, we're all in on Hawaii.
We're all in on Hawaii and Bing Rames. But he's not in this. No, this was one that I was familiar with, that it came out when I was in high school. I obviously knew a little bit more about this, but of the 2 Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore movies from that time period for me, I feel like I knew more about The Wedding Singer than this one. Although I have not seen The Wedding Singer as a movie, I've seen it as a musical. And so I kind of knew roughly what this was about, but not too much beyond that.
Similarly to you both, I mean, I guess I probably have a more extensive history than the both of you, but not a very memorable one, I guess. I don't know if I saw this in theaters. I just know that I've seen it multiple times throughout the years. It's definitely been a while since I've seen it before this most recent rewatch. So like Geoff said, it was interesting rewatching it. You know, whenever you haven't seen a movie for a while and you are at a different stage of your life or, you know, what have you, it's just interesting to watch it with fresh eyes. So that was kind of the case with this one. So Ben, what is your score?
So I think I mentioned this when we did Happy Gilmore last year, that I am not very familiar with a lot of Adam Sandler stuff. I've seen Billy Madison. I saw Click, and that might have been it before Happy Gilmore, and now 50 First Dates. And I feel like I had this perhaps unfair assessment of what Adam Sandler was like, just based on commercials and just knowing how he can be in clips I've seen. And I maybe didn't give enough credit for that his movies have a little more heart to them than I think I thought they did, at least through the two we've watched for this podcast. I actually really liked this movie. I was very surprised, and it won me over as it went along. I didn't love it so much at first, but I actually grew to really like it by the end, and I'll talk a little bit more about why later. But I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Wow.
That's awesome.
All right. What about you,
Nice.
Jeff?
Hawaii is crushing it on my rankings this season because Red and Lilo and Stitch are my two highest ranked ones.
Absolutely crushing.
It's a sign that you need to go.
I would love to.
This was a movie that started off rough for me. The Rob Schneider bits are so cringy and so rough.
Yes.
And the gross humor, I'm like, oh gosh, here we go again. But then Drew Barrymore shows up on screen, and the quality of this movie just shoots up like a rocket. She and Sandler together are electric, and I love when she's on screen. Is this our second Drew Barrymore after we did Scream last year? I can't remember exactly, but
I think so, yeah.
she is awesome in this. I love their chemistry. It's a weird sort of plot device, this idea, but I think the intention behind it is effective. And I'm going to give it a 3.5.
And I agree with you both. I really enjoyed this movie. We'll definitely get into some of the parts that I don't really love, but for the most part, this movie is incredibly heartwarming, and I give it 4 stars. So let's talk about what doesn't work before we jump into what does work.
Geoff already said the main thing that didn't work for me, which is Rob Schneider. I can't stand Rob Schneider ever. And when the movie, he's in a lot more of the beginning, I feel like.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be rough. And then he kind of disappears, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Same.
A lot of his older roles in these Adam Sandler movies are very racist.
Yes.
Upon revisit.
And he's not funny.
Yeah, it's a lot. The first, like, what is it? Probably like 10 to 15 minutes of this movie, which are like basically just Adam Sandler, that random woman that he works with, and Rob Schneider. And you kind of sit down to watch it and you're like, okay, like this is just because it's not even like great Adam Sandler material. You know what I mean? Like,
no, it's not.
I like a lot of his like goofier movies where that's kind of like the whole shtick, but this isn't even like up there with good. But
Right.
kind of like you said, Jeff, like as soon as Drew Barrymore comes into the picture, it's like a completely different movie. And there's a few moments throughout the movie where you have a Rob Schneider scene or, you know, a joke with that woman that he works with or something, you know, and you're just kind of like taken out of it and you're like, no, I want to go back.
They could have cut those two characters and I would have liked it even more. Like just completely cut them. They didn't even need to be in the show or in the movie.
In the show.
I'm sorry. I always between TV and Broadway, I'm mostly talking about shows. No, they didn't even need to be in there, either one of them, in my opinion. They didn't have anything like to do with the plot to me in any major way. And I feel like even obviously the most electric part of this is Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler together, but the stuff with her family is compelling too.
It's very compelling.
And even Dan Aykroyd and his little part is okay for me. But like, yeah, but anytime it cut back to them after getting away from them, I was like, and the only reason I scored it so high is because I think they just pretty much vanished, and I kind of forgave them for, you know, getting rid of them because I just liked it so much after Drew Barrymore showed up.
Yeah. You know, he's very goofy in this movie, but I just love him no matter what, is Sean Astin.
He's so good.
That character should not work for me, and he kind of does.
He does.
It's so weird, but like he's so funny.
He makes it work, and like, and that's just to me an example of like that's something that a Rob Schneider would have, you know, completely mangled.
Yes,
and yet Sean Astin makes it endearing,
right? Him and his like training regimen and everything like that.
Lisp.
The shirts he's wearing, the lisp. It's all so memorable and so great. But at the heart of it too, he also cares for his sister. He loves his sister. He's one in line with his dad. He does not go off course. Granted, if he maybe in his brain if he does go off course, it's just a disaster in every way, shape, and form. But also, yeah, he toes the line well. He cares for his family. He's a likable character, even in the goofiness. So yeah, he's a tool bag, but he's a heartfelt tool bag.
Just everyone being like, get off the juice, Doug. And then when he had like the wet dreams, they're like, just a constant joke. That was funny.
Can I tell you guys something? This is Sean Astin's first movie after Return of the King.
That's amazing. He was like, I can't do anything serious for a minimum of 10 years.
Yep, I was gonna say, so he has kind of some fluff because he had a good career, like starting his career because he was a child actor in The Goonies. He had Rudy before all of this, and then he's off and on in some other smaller things, and then, yeah, he gets the role of Samwise Gamgee in the Lord of the Rings movies, where nothing is released during that run, and this is the first full-length, feature-length movie that comes out after the Lord of the Rings movies. So imagine,
break, yeah.
So imagine you see Samwise Gamgee on your screens for the next 3 years, maybe the heart of the Lord of the Rings movies, or at least right there with Frodo. And that, spoiler alert for the Lord of the Rings. Sorry, Ben, I know you haven't seen those. But then you get back to the movie theaters. You see, oh, Sean Astin's at a movie, and he's playing this ridiculous, roided up, lisp having Hawaiian loser. Amazing stuff.
Do you know he just played Santa in a Broadway engagement of Elf last year?
Did he really?
Yeah,
That's fun. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
Like a holiday run. It wasn't like a long thing, but
yeah. I always love when I see him and stuff. I'm always like, yay, good for you.
To jump ahead, because I mean, we kind of just talked about things that didn't work. I just want to say this right away before we get into other things. The thing that worked most for me of all of this, and this is obviously going to be a spoiler, if you're listening to this, we know we talk about things. Like, I was so prepared the entire time for it to end with her recognizing him, like waking up one morning and knowing who he was.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the whole time it was, I mean, it's a rom-com. I'm like, that's how it's going to end. And it'll be sweet and it'll be charming. And then it didn't. And I loved that.
Like, it's a great choice.
I felt that was like such, I mean, now I do think there's some like scrutiny we could look at, like, is it responsible to have a kid when you don't remember them day to day? But no, that's a separate question. But I just love that it for a show, or for, again, I'm calling it a show, by the way, it is going to be a Broadway musical. It's playing in London this fall
That'll be good.
so maybe it'll come to New York at some point, but if it does well there. But for a movie that is just, walking all over rom-com tropes, I'm like, there's no way that's not how it's going to end. She's going to wake up one morning, she's going to see him, and she's going to recognize him. And it's going to be heartfelt and sweet. And I was just so happy at the choice they made for it to not do that.
They made a really good choice. The way it's revealed that, yes, she ultimately does know Henry Roth. Lucy does know Henry Roth, but in her dreams, in her memory, she's just like, hey, I just pictured this guy. And then all of a sudden this guy shows up, and then it's just meant to be. It's perfect. Right after, and this is all right after, one of the most hilarious scenes of the movie for me is Adam Sandler. I'm sorry, I'm going to use his character. His Henry Roth crying on the boat, singing along to the Beach Boys, and then realizing he's got to turn on. I love that scene so much, and then turning around.
My favorite Beach Boys song, I'd like to mention.
It's a good song. It's a very good song.
Yeah. That scene is iconic. That is like the scene I think of when I think of this movie for whatever reason. It's just him out on the boat, like scream crying, wouldn't it be nice?
So good. But yeah, the way they revealed it in the hospital there is just, it's amazing. And then the ending of the movie is also very effective too, where the entire family is patient with her. The way they recreated her bedroom on that boat is cool. Yeah. Though it must be like a very stark contrast to wake up in Hawaii, and then I can tell you right now, if it's Hawaii level humidity somehow in that room when she wakes up in the middle of Alaska, there's some voodoo magic going on there. Like, I don't know what's happening, or if they're running up some sort of solar whatever going in there. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, very effective ending to this movie.
I don't think they went to that level to try.
There are definitely some things that that don't like hold up when you really think about it with this whole,
Yeah.
way that they even like if you think about the year before Adam Sandler met her, but since her accident, like, what about like Christmas? What about like on a rainy day? What about like I don't know, like it's
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
I said to Jeff while we were watching this, I was like, they're really lucky that the weather doesn't change too much in
Yeah.
Hawaii. Like,
Yeah.
if they lived in, up north,
Oh yeah. Yeah. You would
it
not be
would
able to get away with
there's
it.
no way. Like,
Yeah.
you just wake up and you think it's October and there's a blizzard outside.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying
Which
to,
I
yeah,
mean can happen, but
Oh yeah, like it's not unheard of, but
yeah. 51st dates in Buffalo, New York, or Western New York. Mm-mm. Yeah,
not so
that ain't
much.
working. Nope. It was October. No, granted, it might be believable if on October 13th or whatever day it is, you're waking up and oh yeah, it's snowing. Oh yeah, it's super sunny and nice. It could happen. Those Western New York
There's an
weathers.
element of this movie which I apologize if this is one of your movie recommendations, Jeff, and I'm just destroying it by talking about it now. But there's a lot of this that reminds me of the Truman Show.
It is not. That is not one of my recommendations, but that is a really good recommendation to pair with
Like
this
the
movie.
kind of like controlled world they're building for
Mhm.
her, and obviously it's for a different reason, but I feel like it has a lot of that vibe to me, of how she's like responding to it, and I'm also not convinced that if I woke up and didn't, you know, that all I would need was a video to get on board to enjoy the rest of my day. I'm not convinced that would work, but like I feel like the first time she's watching the video, she's like crying and she's like looking, but then I'm like, I feel like you could get like 2 minutes into this video and I'd be like, pause, wait, what is happening right now? Like she's just watching it, taking it all in.
I mean, people are different.
I guess. I guess.
People handle things differently. I did like that they kind of had a protocol for if she had a bad day, like
Oh yeah.
the first time when the police officer like kind of ruined the whole thing and
Yeah.
she comes storming in and he's like, "We got a bad day." And it
Yeah.
was like,
And,
"Oh, okay, like this does happen on occasion. It's not
right.
just this like
And I love that
happy."
they played it like that was the first time it happened from Adam Sandler's perspective. And then you're
Mhm.
like, oh no, this kind of stuff does happen some of the days.
Yep,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was I really like that they did that.
exactly. And they know exactly like, okay, we're gonna go to the hospital. We're gonna go see the doctor. They have this amazing plan in place. Yeah, it's great.
I also liked that they mentioned the Red Sox winning the World Series, and then they did that year,
That's
later that year,
right. That's
later that year.
right.
They willed
They
it
made it
into
as a joke
existence.
for the movie, and then they actually did.
I thought that was very funny when, she gave him the sixth sense and she's like, "Let's watch it." And the dad and Doug are like, "Sure." Just some of the stuff that they had to go through for,
Yeah.
over an entire year, every single day. It's like that, it has
A little bit
definitely got to
like
wear
life with
on
a
you.
toddler. You watch the same stuff every single day. You
Yeah,
read the same books, watch the same things,
and
play
it
the
wears
same
down
game.
your sanity, right, Ben?
Making bets on that Vikings game with her. That's just not fair. Be a super fan of The Sixth Sense on Letterboxd. I know they don't have Letterboxd in 2004 or whatever, but yeah, I've logged The Sixth Sense 365 times this year.
Social media would make this a little trickier too. Social media and more,
Oh yeah.
like I know they had the internet then, but like the internet being on your phone would make
Hmm.
this a lot trickier. Their job of resetting every day to October.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know that they'd be able to do it unless they like hacked into her phone and created a fake account or something that she logged into. I don't know. It would take a lot of work.
Yeah. Which I'm curious if the musical, like, if they're going to set it in 2004 or if they're going to try to update. I feel like they should set it in 2004.
I think so
Yeah.
too. Yeah. At least in the planning process to play it safe.
Yeah. I think that's the best call. I don't know about you guys, but like having to go on that many first dates from Adam Sandler's point of view would just be like the worst. Like, I mean, I know he loved her and everything, but like just having that pressure of having to like I mean, perform kind
Yeah.
of, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
as you're doing to try to impress somebody, like just every single day and not like ever getting past that point. Like, I mean, eventually they did with the video and everything, but at first, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was like,
and
man,
like I don't know about you guys, but for me, like when I think about my relationship with my wife or previous relationships I was in, like at least for me, like I know they always talk about the honeymoon phase, but like I don't really like that very beginning of getting to know each other kind of thing. Like I want to know, because I feel like I do better when I know people better, and I think
mhm.
I kind of hate that, like because you can't quite be, you want to be yourself, but you are kind of putting on an act a little bit because you don't quite know how it's going to be received, and maybe to some extent he kind of knows how it's going to be received because he knows her so well.
Yeah,
But yeah, that would be like, I agree, a lot of pressure for a lot.
A
I would
lot
not
of
want
pressure.
to just continuously be on first dates.
yeah, definitely not. I did like she was like, talk about lilies because I don't want you to strike out. I'm like, yeah, he's got all the tools in his toolbox. Like, you know, halfway through the movie, he's like, all right, I know I'm never gonna strike out with her again, basically.
Now, do you get the sense that he did this every day, or that he like had to work or do other things certain days and he just didn't meet her certain days?
At one point I was trying to ask myself, how is his job situation going?
That's what I
Clearly,
was
as you
wondering too, because I
see,
was like, is he even working? And then it did show him back at work. But I was like, if he's doing all these dates every day,
That's
right.
fair. I
like
guess he
maybe he's
probably
only doing it
wasn't
on
doing
Saturdays
it.
and Sundays, and then she's not meeting him on the rest of the week. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that, but
But I
he
feel like he says
also
every day multiple times.
he does, but he also question mark lives at his job. So maybe
True.
he's doing work like before and after, like, when he's like meeting her in the road, that's probably only taking like an hour or so of his time if
Yeah.
you think about it, because
Maybe he sees
he's,
you at like the diner and then is like, I'll pick you up after work or something like that.
Right. Or,
yeah,
I mean, he's also like a vet tech or, animal caretaker, in charge of a lot of feedings and stuff like that. And that kind of thing happens early in the day and late at night. So yeah,
True.
maybe it makes sense. He's got that routine down. He's clearly tight with, what was his penguin's name? Willie? Was that his penguin's name? Or was that Rob Schneider's character's name? I can't remember exactly, but
no, Rob Schneider's character's name was Ula.
Ula, that's right. Thank you.
Oh,
I don't
Rob
remember the
Schneider.
penguin's name.
But yeah, he's got the tight relationship with animal, high fiving walruses and talking to dolphins and whatever. Yeah, he's tight. They get him. They're like, yeah, we know you'll be around, so maybe he's built in that flexibility.
I mean, depending on what kind of vet you are too, it could be kind of an on-call situation. Um, but I didn't totally get that vibe from when we did see him on the job. But the real MVP of this movie, I think, was the walrus
Oh yeah.
because
Yep.
he got so much screen time, and
Oh
like
yeah.
every time he was on, I was just like, I love this walrus. And everything he did, I was like, you're incredible.
Way better actor than Rob Schneider.
Incredible stuff.
Absolutely. Very talented.
All of them too. A bunch of other walruses came into play and threw curveballs into
Mhm.
the mix. Walrus was asked to play dead. Walrus was asked to do plenty of tricks.
Yep.
Have his genitalia talked about at a few times during this movie.
Classic joke.
Classic.
How do you guys feel about short-term memory, Tom?
How do we feel about him?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm
Um,
Tom.
I mean,
I felt like they kept it to enough. Like it didn't go on too much.
yeah, no, I thought he was hilarious.
That would have gotten very old very quickly, but I feel like they showed good restraint with that character.
They did.
Yes, absolutely.
Kept him isolated to the one location.
And then they
Chimed
brought
in
it back at the
appropriately.
end in a funny way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or 10-second Tom. Sorry, that's his name, not short-term memory Tom.
Yeah. And like most Adam Sandler movies, this movie's just filled with me going, oh, that guy.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
that
there's
guy.
Kevin James.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
about to say
that
Kevin
guy.
James showing up.
Yeah, I did love the Kevin James thing right at the beginning. And I didn't realize Maya Rudolph was in this movie.
Yeah.
When she
Surprise.
showed up, I was
Briefly.
like, what, girl?
That would have
Yeah.
been like probably like right when she was like kind of getting like I think she might have been starting on SNL around that time period.
I mean, she looked like a baby.
Yeah.
Hmm.
She looked very young.
All I know is that this is another example of a movie where I just want to become friends with Adam Sandler and get in tight and do one of his movie trips where, hey, I'm doing a Happy Madison production. We're flying to Hawaii. We're flying to Florida. We're going to a cabin for a week. We're doing whatever. I'm like, yes, please. Just get me as a part of this crew. That's for sure. Get to the
Yeah.
Rob Schneider level.
I mean, I would love to be friends with any actor who has a group of friends and usually makes movies with the same people and they
Hmm.
just get to go to
Yeah.
fun places. But yeah, I think Adam Sandler's the most famous out of all of them.
He has, and I mean, you guys talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but like he and Drew Barrymore, blah, blah, blah. He and Drew Barrymore are just such a like perfect match to me in terms of temperament. Like they just line up so well with each other and the way they are, because they both, I think, have a tendency sometimes to be caricatures or to be a little too much. Adam Sandler when he does, he's doing that, or Drew Barrymore, the classic way to make fun of Drew Barrymore with, oh my God, and for some reason, like I feel like the two of them together, it just matches up super well, and they're just such a dynamic duo on screen.
They really are. The way they bounce off of each other, the chemistry they have, the jokes that they have, it allows having Adam Sandler on screen allows Drew Barrymore to kind of push herself a little bit in terms of like the comic stretches that she can go or the jokes she can pull off, and it almost cools Adam Sandler down a bit to the point where yeah, they're both on the same wavelength the entire time they're on screen together. Even the scene where Lucy goes beating up Ula with a bat, it's like, hey, that's just funny. Like that's perfect. That's funny, and it fits the tone. And Drew Barrymore's and Lucy's allowed to go to that level of an extreme with her character too, because she's got Adam Sandler on screen with her. So yeah, their comedy works so well together. This entire movie.
Adam Sandler is very restrained in this movie. Like, there's no, kind of like you said, Ben, there's no extreme moments of him, doing a voice, or sometimes he
Mhm.
does that thing where he like yells, like, I know. He's like, he's not really going to like a super goofy or super like angry extreme. And it's a good look for him.
It
Yeah, he's
is.
very charming in it, I think.
I
Absolutely.
I can understand why Henry Roth was such a hit with the tourists. I get it. At first, one of my first notes in the movie was like, is he really that much of a player? I don't know. It doesn't seem that believable. But then as the movie progresses and you realize how well he does with Lucy in these kind of short term situations, it's like, yeah, I get it. He's charming.
Yeah.
And he's just
Yeah.
naturally charming too.
And he's
Yeah.
pretty ethical when we find out that he doesn't actually serve any of the women alcohol when he takes them out to that restaurant, which it's like, okay. I mean, it's not great that they think they're getting drunk, but at least he's not actually getting drunk, getting them drunk and then having sex with them.
Yeah.
But there was like one point where I was like, when he was talking to Lucy and he was like, we've had like 23, quote unquote, first kisses now. And he's like, my balls are getting kind of blue. And it's like, okay, sir, but like, this is kind of what you signed up for,
Yeah, this
right?
is the life
Like,
you chose.
You're in
Yeah.
a little deep, pal.
yeah, I was like, maybe don't try to guilt her. Like, so that was the one time that he kind of crossed the line, but I don't know. I guess they had a kid, so they did it.
Yeah. Okay. So can we just talk a little bit about the epilogue here? Because I really love that they didn't end with her recognizing him. I absolutely love that choice. And I think it was a very cool kind of reveal that she was in Alaska and not in Hawaii at the end there. I thought that was really well done from a cinematic standpoint. But from an ethical standpoint, like the idea of like having kids to me feels a little dicey. Like, first of all, she even kind of alludes to it. Like, what happened when she woke up 9 months pregnant? you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah,
for a month.
right.
Like,
Yeah, it's tough.
um, Like that's kind of crazy. And then even if you get past that and they're like, well, whatever, that was a short-term thing. Like you also, this kid isn't really going to ever develop more of a relationship with you than one day at a time kind of thing. And like,
Mhm.
you see like the credits, they showed all these like pictures of the kid and you can like, you only know this kid as a 6-year-old, but then you see a picture of them as a 2-year-old. Like, I don't know. It feels like, I don't know. It feels a little unethical to me to have kids in that scenario.
And it's tough too because you have to try and teach the kid about the situation, and that takes a
Yes.
lot of emotional maturity, which
Yes.
that's tough
That's gonna be some
to
therapy for that kid.
it's tough to
Yeah.
introduce to a young one, I can
Like,
imagine.
mommy's not going to recognize you every
Right.
morning when she wakes up.
Right. And what happens, like, that's going to be on that kid someday potentially.
Yeah.
If Adam Sandler's character, I'm getting way too serious for rom-com, but like if he dies and like it's
Yeah. We're
it's
gonna be
eaten by
tough.
a walrus. Like,
It's tusked by a walrus
The
on an
walrus turns
expedition.
on him.
but like it's I feel like it doesn't necessarily hold up to scrutiny in that sense, but I know it's just a silly rom-com, so that's a little bit probably unnecessary analysis of the situation.
Yeah. I will say, in the same way that she started recognizing Henry, well, not recognizing him, but like seeing him in her dreams, and, it seems like that made the transition easier for her.
Hmm.
Maybe the same thing would happen with the kid. And it did seem like as the movie went along, how realistic this is, probably not very, but it did seem like each time she watched the video, like it got easier for her. Like I feel like at the end she was just kind of like, oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
I don't even think she like cried at all when she watched the video. She was just like, what? And then, the kid like ran up to her and she was like, oh, okay, great.
And I'm sure she picked up journaling as well, because I know that's something that she did in the I don't want to say the early stages of her relationship with Henry, the later stages of her relationship with Henry
Right.
before
I'm
he.
sure she did about the kid for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely,
But then like
absolutely,
you can't spend your whole day reading your journal.
right.
Yeah. It takes a long time to read that kind of stuff,
You
but
you star the important
I
pages
just
after a
finished it
while.
up. Oh, time to go to bed.
considering how adamant she was about erasing Henry Roth from her memory, I don't know. Maybe she was very insistent on having a kid, and he was just like, "All right, like, I mean, if you're in, you're in, I
Yeah.
guess." I don't know. But yeah, ethically dicey.
Another element of the movie that I loved was the diner setting. I think that the diner setting, something about a diner and in like a small town or anything like that, a diner is this sense of community and this sense of where everybody knows everybody, the owners know everyone. Like shout out to owners of the diner. They were definitely two of the stars of the movie as well, from the day-to-day waitress and then the cook in the kitchen. Two all stars in this movie as well, kind of holding things down. Great characters, especially the guy in the kitchen. I love just everything. That's the a character
Nick.
like him, Nick. Thank you. He's like a character like Happy's boss in Happy Gilmore. Yes, he's set up to be like a goofy looking character, quote unquote, but he's got a lot of heart to him. He's funny. He's actually someone you want to see on screen. And then, yeah, the day to day customers coming in, there's a sense of familiarity every single time. I can understand why Lucy would want to go to a place like this just in general. And I can understand as well that they'd be like, yeah, I'm so bought in. I would also love to know their perspective on watching Henry try to court Lucy. I mean, we know we have the one gentleman who we're constantly coming back to who thinks Henry's an idiot and not the sharpest tool in the shed. But I'd love to know what other people are thinking, because I'm sure there's a few people who are like, maybe along the way they're like, hey, yeah, this is crazy, or maybe they come in and they jump in and do other things with the videotape as well, not just Ula and his kids jumping in and giving their perspective. Maybe there are other people in the diner who might help. Who knows? But I like that touch in the movie as well, and that additional sense of community.
You know what else is interesting is thinking about, and again, this is taking things way too deep, but thinking about kind of like the idea of fate or like what's meant to be,
Hmm.
because Lucy reacted to Henry differently, like every day. So if this wasn't a situation where she had like short-term memory loss and like say Henry went up to her on the day where she was like, "Oh, do you come from a place where strangers touch other people's food?" Like then he would have just, if he didn't know that he could just try again tomorrow, like he would have just probably walked away from her and they like never would have ended up together. But I don't know. It's just interesting that like depending on the day, depending on her mood or depending on what he said, like she had completely different reactions to him and it could have ended up completely different. So always pretend like you have a second chance, I guess. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know what the pearl of wisdom is there.
That is an interesting theory, playing with the idea of fate and thinking if it's meant to be. I'm glad we were meant to be, Amanda, because I don't know how many. I mean, I would have tried everything that I could in terms of, second first dates, but
It
Sure.
is interesting broadly to think about if you could redo a day over and over again. Like,
Yeah,
it's unusual.
could try so many different things, so many different ways.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a big deal if you struck out or like
Right.
made an
Right.
idiot of yourself. You're like, I'll just try again tomorrow."
Yeah.
That's actually got to be great. Like, great feeling.
to an extent.
Yeah. Does anyone have any final thoughts or anything they want to point out? I'm getting a no from Ben.
Oh, one thing I did want to bring up, and I'm sorry, this will be so quick. Lucy plays lacrosse? Question mark. There was a look. She beats when Henry wakes up in bed with her before she like burns the journal that she's been keeping of him. She beats him up with a lacrosse stick. They play lacrosse in Hawaii, and she's playing lacrosse at this point, or is that her brothers?
I mean, why not?
The world may never know.
I don't
Maybe
know.
she used to play lacrosse before the accident.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, well, if that was the case, she still could she? Because she would still remember how to play lacrosse.
Yeah.
This
Anything
is true.
from before that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
This
don't
is
know.
true. Okay. That's my weird little detail. That was one thing I wrote down. I was like, wait a second, hang on. But yeah,
I would just like to say that I would like to tie this movie into the greatest movie of all time, Game Night, through The Sixth Sense. There is a tie. They talk about The Sixth Sense in Game Night when they're playing charades and they're talking about Donnie Wahlberg or no, Mark Wahlberg. And they're like, Mark Wahlberg's in The Sixth Sense. And this girl's like, Mark would never take a role that small.
no, it was they were trying to answer a game of charades, and it was Donnie Wahlberg and Jason Baby characters were like, who's not in The Sixth Sense? Mark Wahlberg, and then that was the line.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Oh,
Do
you're
you know
good.
anything about that movie, man?
Jeez.
I'm just gonna have to cut that whole part and just say tying it to Game Night.
Oh, one thing I did notice too was that after the couple hours after Henry meets Lucy for the first time, he goes golfing with Ula and all of his kids, and the kids and Ula all try the Happy Gilmore golf swing, and Henry mocks them for it. He calls them out on their golf swing, saying how, oh my gosh, that's a terrible golf swing and blah blah blah, even though the kids hit it perfectly. So I found that to be a fun little callback to a previous Adam Sandler role. I don't know if that was intentional. I doubt it was intentional, but I'm going to say it was.
Probably was. Alrighty. So Jeff, why don't you give us our movie recommendations for the week?
Awesome. So my three movie recommendations. The first one is The Wedding Singer, the first of the three Adam Sandler Drew Barrymore collaborations with this and blended along with The Wedding Singer. A movie I've actually never seen, or it's been a very long time since I've seen it. So I actually should probably go and check it out in honor of this podcast.
I'd like to put it on the list because I love the musical.
Let's do
I've
it.
never seen the movie.
I haven't seen it either, so
Let's all add it to the list. Heck yes. Number two is another romantic comedy set in Hawaii, and that would be Forgetting Sarah Marshall. A ridiculous movie that I know holds a soft spot in a lot of millennials' hearts. And yeah, starring Jason Segel, Kristen Bell, Mila Kunis, the now not so loved Russell Brand, Jonah Hill's in it as well. I believe Paul Rudd is in it as well, if memory serves me right. Just another ridiculous, silly movie that takes place in a wonderfully tropical location. And then the last one is the memory loss category. There are a couple of movies that you could put into this slot, such as like Finding Nemo comes to mind. But the real movie that came to mind for me, weirdly, was Memento from Christopher Nolan. A very dark and different turn on the concept, but the way that the main character in that movie keeps track of thoughts and memories is very similar to the videotaping idea, the photography idea, the journaling idea. So, yeah, I'm going to put Memento on this list if you're looking for something that puts a different spin on the memory loss idea.
that also reminded me for some reason that I forgot to say I've actually seen the pier from this movie in real life. The pier that's at her house,
Nice.
I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I saw it when I was in Hawaii. The end. Ben, what are your TV recommendations?
Well, first of all, if you're like Amnesia, there's many classic sitcom episodes where a character gets amnesia. Um, so I Dream of Jeannie, Get Smart, The Lucy Show, all sorts of fun 60s sitcoms. Amnesia was a popular trope back then. But the two I'm going to actually recommend as far as shows, or mention, I guess. Number one is going to, like Geoff, going down the rom-com route, and one is going down the memory loss route. So the rom-com route, there's a show called Love Life, which was on HBO Max, then Max, soon to be HBO Max again. It was actually one of the shows that launched with HBO Max mid-COVID when they didn't have a lot ready like they hoped to, but they did have Love Life ready. And it's an anthology series, only ran 2 seasons. The first season focused on Anna Kendrick, and the second one was William Jackson Harper from The Good Place. And it's basically it chronicles over 10 episodes or so somebody's dating history. So you see, and it kind of jumps forward in time with each new relationship. So it sort of has that kind of 50 first dates vibe in the sense of each episode or each couple episodes is a new relationship. It didn't get very good reviews, but I actually really liked the Anna Kendrick season quite a bit. I didn't like the William Jackson Harper season quite as much. And then the other one, the memory loss path, is a show that only lasted like half a season on NBC back in the mid to 2010s. It was called Awake, and it starred Jason Isaacs from The White Lotus, and he played a character who every other day he woke up, he was living in two different realities. So it's kind of alt reality more than memory loss, but in where he had been in a car accident, and in one reality his wife died, and in the other reality their child died. And so and it uses like different filming styles to show the two different realities, and then he has to like solve a crime that's kind of happening in both timelines. And I don't even think I finished the whole season, but it was a very intriguing concept. And I know it was kind of one of those kind of gone too soon things that people were intrigued by, and it never caught on and didn't go anywhere. But I think it kind of lines up with that a little bit.
Hmm.
So there we go.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, maybe I'll revisit it at some point. It's only 13 episodes.
What's it on? Did you say? Sorry.
Well, it was on NBC back in the day. I'm not sure. You can
I was
find
about
it
to say it's
anywhere
probably
right
on
now.
Peacock.
If
Probably.
it's anywhere there, but I don't know. It was not a successful show, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's just lost to time right now. Maybe with Jason Isaacs coming back in the consciousness with White Lotus, they'll bring it somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. All right, let's jump into our top 4 for today. So we're doing our top 4 favorite rom-coms. Geoff, why don't you kick us off?
Oh boy, I was I was hoping you weren't going to do that, but I've got my list. So, romantic comedies was hard to narrow down because if you're like me and you do a letterbox search of movies that fit the genre bucket of comedy and romance, they're not necessarily romantic comedies. It's very, very tough. So, in my mind, romantic comedies are, yes, comical movies, but the relationship between the two protagonists is the center point of the movie. So there are a couple of movies that wouldn't make the cut as a result of that. The most notable one for me personally that did not make the cut because of this criteria I'm setting is Billy Wilder's Some Like It Hot. I had to throw it out there. Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, and Marilyn Monroe from the 50s. 5-star masterpiece, hilarious movie. But the kind of the central point of the movie is the two guys at the center of it who are trying to escape the mob. And they end up kind of sneaking into an all-girls band. So yes, like the Broadway musical. So shout out there to the Broadway musical, but the movie is a masterpiece. Some people would call it a romantic comedy. I'm not calling it a romantic comedy for the sake of my list. So that is my one sort of caveat that normally would make it. I'm going to be referencing a couple other alumni of our podcast in this list. So number 4 is 10 Things I Hate About You. Amazing, amazing movie. We revisited for the podcast Julia Stiles, or not Julia Stiles. Goodness gracious, I forget the lead, but that's
Julia Stiles.
My bad, Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger. Thank you so much. I am so sorry. An amazing movie, and one that I love. That we revisited last year, and it has aged so well. The center romance and the way that it grows is really quite charming, and I love that. That is the focal point of the movie. Number 3 is The Princess Bride. Very nearly close to the top of the list, but one of the most romantic stories ever told. Amazing movie. Number 2, kind of is close to not making the cut based on the criteria, but I'm going to keep it on here because it does have a lot of comical elements, and it is surely romantic. I'm going to go La La Land, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, and a movie I absolutely adore, and a movie that I need to show Amanda one of these days because I know she has not seen it. Which makes me
that would be a good one for our Amanda month because I have seen that.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised.
Great movie.
I'm not surprised that you watched it, but I am surprised, if that makes sense.
And then my number 1 is what a lot of people would consider to be the OG rom-com. It's from the 1930s. It's called It Happened One Night, directed by Frank Capra, the director of It's a Wonderful Life. It Happened One Night is one of 3 movies, along with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and The Silence of the Lambs, to win the Big 5 at the Oscars. Picture, director, lead actor, lead actress, and screenplay. It is amazing. It is so funny. It is so good. It's such a great concept and a very believable and heartwarming concept in the way that the two leads come together by the end of the movie. It's so I laughed so hard. I was so blown away when I saw it for the first time just recently, and I was like, this movie is a bona fide classic. Clark Gable's character in that movie, I believe, was the inspiration for Bugs Bunny too, which is hilarious as well. So a lot of modern day rom-coms can take their inspiration from this movie. Cannot recommend it enough. So that's my number 1 rom-com.
All right, good list. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And you're welcome, I guess.
All right, Ben, let's hear your list.
All right, I really considered putting La La Land on there, but I just wasn't sure if I would call it a rom-com, so I left it off. But I do enjoy La La Land a lot, and
we'll put that as your your caveat, as your like. This
so,
might make
but
the
I
cut,
also
but
kind of cheated because there's another one on my list that I feel like maybe doesn't totally apply. So I feel like it's one of those like, like you can't really define it, but you know it when you see it kind of thing with rom-coms.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
So I tried to kind of, I'll get to that in a second because my number 4, I feel like it's pushing the thing a little bit, but whatever. My honorable mentions though are You've Got Mail, and My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And I don't care what anybody says. My third honorable mention is A Cinderella Story starring Hilary Duff.
That's hey, no judgment here.
I don't know. I just really enjoyed that. That's also a great Jennifer Coolidge performance in that movie. And I love me some Jennifer Coolidge. So my top four, like I said, my number four, okay. I don't know if it really belongs on a rom-com list, but I feel like it works enough. If it was pure enjoyment, it would probably go all the way up to number two, but I felt like I couldn't put number two on a rom-com list, so I'm putting it at number four. And that's The Parent Trap, with Lindsay Lohan, because I feel like a lot of it is about, the twins, but it's also about getting the parents back together. That's like the premise of the movie. So I feel like it works. My wife hates that I prefer the Lindsay Lohan movie to the original one, but hello, like that is a pretty perfect movie, the Lindsay Lohan version, and and it's so charming, it's so funny, it's so clever. I know it's built based on the original, but I just think it improves on the original in every way. Um, Really fun movie, and I would like to revisit it at some point because it's been a long time. My sister used to watch it almost every day when I was growing up, so I feel like I've seen it probably 500 times in my life, but it's been a long time now since I've seen it. Number three, which I feel like could have been one of your recommendations, Geoff, as far as another one besides the Truman Show, which is not a rom-com, but the other one that I feel like also does have a lot of vibes of 50 First Dates is Palm Springs.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Palm
Yeah.
Springs is so good.
Which is kind of the time loop kind of feel, and my wife and I watched that on Valentine's Day a few years ago, and I really really enjoyed that. Love Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti in everything, and in this as well. Talk about another good pair too. And then speaking of great pairs, number two is Sleepless in Seattle, which features same as You've Got Mail, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, another really dynamic couple like Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, who I think their temperaments just match each other so well. It's been a long time since I've seen Sleepless in Seattle, but I really love that movie. That definitely heavy on the part of rom-com in that one, but it's a really charming movie and a really really sweet movie. Number one by far though for me is Miss Congeniality. Um, I love Sandra Bullock. Love, love, love her. And this is a movie that I am unabashedly not afraid to say is one of my like top 10 movies of all time. It is so, so fun, and I could never get tired of watching it when it was on ABC Family all the time for years. And I would catch bits and pieces of it, like Mrs. Doubtfire and Mean Girls. Those three movies I feel like I watched bits and pieces of for years at a time. I just love it, and I it's another one where the rom-com part of it is not the whole movie. There's a lot of other elements to it, but it is to me like about the most perfect rom-com. When I think of that genre, it was an easy number one, and I had to do some research for the rest of the list.
That's a good one. I wish I had thought of Miss Congeniality, but I agree with you. It's not like the most obvious rom-com
No,
in
but it
the
definitely is. I
category.
mean, you think
Yeah,
I'm gorgeous?
yeah, absolutely. I feel like this list in general felt kind of like a bear to tackle just because the rom-com category is massive.
Oh yeah. Well,
Um,
and if sorry to interrupt one more thing, but I like realized how many like classic rom-coms I have not seen when I was looking through these lists. Like
yeah,
holy cow. And I generally like the genre, so I have
yeah,
like major blind spots.
Yeah, I've got a
same.
lot of blind spots in this.
Yeah. And rom-coms are like in a uh kind of a recession right now, you know.
Yeah.
There's not too many of them anymore, but I don't know. Then we'll get hit with a bunch all at once at some point. So for my list, again, I kind of struggled with this, but my honorable mentions are the Christmas classic, The Holiday, romantic between two different couples. Um, The Princess Bride, like Geoff said, one of the most romantic, not as heavy on the comedy, but very romantic. And Palm Springs, like Ben had. So my number four is a movie that I feel like nobody has ever seen. But I absolutely loved it. I still have the VHS. I made Geoff watch it probably a couple years ago, but it's The Bachelor, not the TV show. Um,
Which
it
season?
it's I don't even know the guy's name who's in it. But it's got Renee Zellweger, and essentially his grandfather dies and is going to like he's going to inherit like his grandfather's entire estate. But like the caveat is that he has to get married within the next basically like 24 hours. And
Sounds
he
rom-commy.
had what?
Sounds rom-commy.
Exactly. Well, and he had a girlfriend and was going to propose to her, but then he totally like bungled the whole thing. And so then, like, it's just a whole debacle to try to find him a bride in 24 hours. And his friend puts an ad in the newspaper, like, being like, "Do you want $1 million? Like, marry this man." And then there's literally like 10,000 brides chasing him through the streets of New York or wherever they live, San Francisco. I don't know. Um, I think it's a very cute and charming movie. I love it. But literally no one has ever seen it.
Yeah.
So that's The Bachelor.
Chris O'Donnell is the lead. It also features
Oh, yeah.
Artie Lang, Ed Asner, James Cromwell, Mariah Carey, Sarah Silverman, Brooke Shields. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, some of his suitors, ex-girlfriends. Number 3 is 50 First Dates, so don't have to say any more about that. Number 2, 10 Things I Hate About You, like Geoff mentioned, that another alumni of the pod. And then my number 1 is Crazy Stupid Love.
Good choice.
I think this is on our list to watch at some point.
It should be.
Yeah, it's definitely on our list. Can't wait for you to watch it someday, Ben. That's actually one that was a recent watch for me. I think we watched it for the first time maybe like 4-ish years ago, something like that.
I remember distinctly you watched it on an airplane.
Yeah, I
On
know.
an airplane
I don't
flight.
remember when it was.
I don't remember when it was either. And then the very next day you made me watch it, and you watched it a second time.
I liked it that much that I was like, no, you need to watch it. And I'm going to watch it 2 days in a row.
And yeah, it was a very good experience.
Yeah. Yep. That is my list.
It's a quality lists all around. A lot of good ones.
And a lot of ones that I'm guessing none of us have seen that we probably should.
We definitely omitted a lot of big ones.
To everyone mad at us for not including like When Harry Met Sally.
I've never seen that.
Yeah,
Nope.
sorry.
I've never seen Pretty Woman.
Nope.
No, I know.
Some of these iconic ones.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot when I was Googling it, and I was like, oh, nope. I know The Wedding Singer came up. Like, I was like, okay. So, we're working on it, guys. We're working on it. One movie at a time. So, if you would like to watch along with us, next week we'll be watching The Graduate. So be sure to do that so you can tune into our conversation. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a rating or review and follow us on all our social channels. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see y'all next week.
To infinity and beyond!
Why so serious?
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.